All right, hello ICS2O folks. You've got a word processing document open. It doesn't have to be Smart Notebook. We're not going to draw any pictures or anything in there. The notes name is going to be Good Programming Style. And I want to show you my solution for the warm-up from today. And I'm just going to run my program. Get this out of the way. And so I'll put in my favorite one-digit number. There's red 55, blue 48, white 26, hut. Not bad. For the 48 and the 26 were randomly generated. It meets the criteria of the question. Problem solved. Great program. No, it's not. Actually, it's pretty cruddy program, and we're going to be going back to this code here and talking about why it's not a very good program. And there's a few things about it. So first of all programs should have a header that includes the purpose of the program, the author, and the date or version. So this program, to start with, although it doesn't affect how it runs at all, it should have a few lines of comments up here that tells me about the program name. This is the Cadence program. And its purpose was to, I don't know what it was, simulate the quarterback's cadence. And the programmer was me, and the date, well, today's date, whatever it would be today, day 33, maybe I'll put, I think today's day 33 or 31, maybe, can't remember what today's date is. And that sort of thing is in every single program. It goes right at the start to say who programmed it and why. And then in bigger programs, you put revisions and stuff like that in there as well. So all programs should have a header that includes these things. Be indented properly. And I don't know if you noticed that, but it's all over the place. There's crud back and forth. It's hard to see what's going on. So it should all have the same indent. And what's great in Turing is you just press the indent button and everything lines up nice, and at least it's indented correctly. It's still not great, but it looks better. It looks like it's easier to read. When we get into other structures in Turing later on, that's going to be very important to indent correctly. It should have appropriate white space. Now, appropriate white space would be not too many blank lines and not zero blank lines. For instance, there's usually blanks in between certain parts of the program. You know, this is way too many blank lines. We delete that. But if it's all jammed together like that, that's not very good either. That's, you know, it's hard to read when there's not enough blank space. And we'll break that up soon once we get into other good aspects of programming. So have comments to explain code chunks. So for instance, in here, this is what were we actually doing here? We were get the user's favorite one-digit number. Here is code that simulates a quarterback call. What's this business about? This part here with the dots was output one dot at a time for effect. And notice these comments could be here or could be next to the line that we're talking about. And either way, all of a sudden, those comments make your code easier to read. Have comments to explain code chunks. Have appropriate or meaningful variable names. Well, we only have one variable. We're going to have more by the end of this thing, but n isn't very appropriate because we don't know what it means. Maybe we should call it something better. Maybe we should call it favorite number. That's better. Say, well, that's too long to type, except for now it reads better, right? And everywhere that I see N, I'm going to want to put favorite number in there, okay? So here, put in favorite number. I just copy and paste and control C for copy, control V for paste, and so on, okay? So that looks a little bit better. We're going to actually use some more variables soon, but there's going to be, and it's declared at the start of the program. So this one only had the one variable, and this is the variable declarations. So I'm going to actually move this comment beside there. And I'm going to create a variable place where we declare all of our variables. Variable declaration section. And notice that if I want to sort of make that part of the program more visible, I could use a few characters. Once I've put the percent sign, it looks like I've cut off that section, and now it looks like my section, my program. There's my variable declaration. Should usually avoid compound statements. So what does that mean? That means doing two things and jamming them into one. And notice what we did here is we produced a random number and then outputted it to the screen in one thing. And generally that's not very good programming style. We said that when we took random numbers last class, that this was kind of the advantage of this one, but generally we don't want to do that. So I'm going to write here random1, and it's an integer, and I'm going to make random2 up here too as an integer, and then I'm going to actually produce them in this section. So I'm going to call random1, oops, and then use this code, random number between 10 and 60. I'm going to cut that out there, equals that, and then the same thing for random2. So, well, this is more code. Yes, it's more code, but it's easier to understand. So then I'm going to write random1 there and random2 here. So instead of having that compound statement, I'm going to have those, I can see that these are the random numbers that I've generated, and I'm using them to output here. And that makes more sense than having a compound statement where I'm doing two things in a row. All right. So avoid compound statements. What else? Follow the input processing output model. Now, what the heck does that mean? It means generally we want our programs to very, very clearly have an input section, an output section, and a processing section. So for instance, here, right here, is our only input section. So I'm going to put right here, this is my input section. The only processing that we did really was the generation of the random numbers. So this is the processing section. And this part here is the output section. And by the way, you could use any symbols that you wanted there to make it, those look okay. Whatever you want to do to make it stand out. I like the equal signs. It looks like a double line. Dandy. Input, processing, output. And those parts are kept separate. Okay. Great. What else does it say? Have friendly user interaction. Well, would this have friendly user interaction? If I run it, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do except for that I wrote the program, so I know I'm supposed to type a number in. It would make sense that it had a little prompt there to help me figure out what that is, and maybe a little title to help the user know what this program's all about. And again, I can output a little bit of a title there, friendly input, then I keep a little prompt there, and then I keep it on the same line, so then it actually looks like the person is asked to answer that question, and then it's going to get that. Um, and let's see what that looks like. See, that looks a little bit better, doesn't it? It's got a tidy interface. So there's red 44, red 44. And it talks about have a nice, tidy, consistent input or output. Where was the output? It's kind of bashing up with the input, isn't it? So for instance, one thing that you might want to do is clear the screen and then output. Here's your output. And notice that the first two numbers didn't have a dash. That one did have a dash. It's not that consistent. So maybe we would want to make it look more consistent. And these are the things, these tiny little details that you work on to perfect your program, and so it looks perfect when you hand them in. So let's see how. Oh, what did I do? Oh, do you see what I did there? There's no put statement. There we go. Put, here's your output. So my favorite one-digit number now is 3. Here's your output. Red 33, red 33, blue 18, white 12, hot. Dandy. That looks a lot better. And that's aspects of good programming. So when you start into your bigger problems that are part of the programming assignment, if you're at this stage, you're probably going to start soon, please keep all these things in mind as far as, indenting and sections with comments and headers and white space and clean output and that sort of thing, okay? Friendly interface. Keep those things in mind, okay? That's it. That's all I had to say today. Save your note, remember, and you can start on your programming assignment.